Hello, and welcome to another episode of Pickle Juice. As always, it's your boy Zook, and I am super excited to be here with you all tonight. Believe it's episode 8. Don't quote me on that, but do believe it's episode 8. This show has been a ton of fun. Been talking to some great people in the pickleball world. Athletes, owners, people that own companies that are just in the pickleball ecosystem. It's been quite the ride. But I'm lucky enough tonight to not be hosting this episode alone. Like last week, I have a super cool co-host tonight. It's a different one, but I'm happy to introduce my buddy, who I think is the most educated person maybe in the world when it comes to the actual pro pickleball game. That's a tough job to live up to, and we'll see if you can do it tonight. But I'll invite him to the stage now. Mr. Johnny, how you doing, sir?
What's up, man? That's quite the bar you set for me. Quite the bar.
I believe it. The conversation that we had on the phone, which was our first and only conversation before this one tonight, I just genuinely loved talking about the pro pickleball game. So, not that I have had that conversation with too many people, but for now, to me, you are the most knowledgeable person about the pro game. So I'm excited to have you here.
That's huge, man. I'll take that honor for now until someone trumps me here pretty quick.
And we won't say who, what, where, why, when, how, but you are doing this from a train, so that is dedication. If I didn't mention that, your setup, your acoustics, your audio is so good, people may not have even realized, but you are doing that from a train. If anything were to happen in the midst, if Johnny was to go out, or the audio or the connection or something, work with us. I'll push him out, pull him back in. But let's get this cracking. I told you that we have the most knowledgeable person in and about the pickleball pro game on this show, so it's only right that we have some of the top pros on the show tonight. And not only one, we have two guests tonight, and that is the great Jade and Jackie Kawamoto. Jade and Jackie, how you guys doing tonight?
Doing great. Live from Plainfield, Indiana. Living the dream over here.
Let's go. Living the dream. Not better than that. I appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation. I know we actually planned to maybe do this a week ago, and then some things came up. But since the beginning, when I started this, you guys have been two of my more favorite people to watch. We'll get into that, and we'll get into some of the dynamic between you guys. But let's get through that housekeeping stuff for those that watch it that don't know. Those questions that I'm sure you've answered a bunch of times, let's get them out of the way so then we can get to the juicy details. But either Jade or Jackie or both, just tell us a little bit about what's the genesis of you guys getting into the game of pickleball, even before the pro game.
Sure. I'm Jackie. I started playing before she did. My dad used to work out at this kind of just church community center area. And then occasionally I'd go with him and walk the track, and were playing pickleball one day on the gym floor. And the old people there asked if we wanted to try it, because I was like, yeah, I played tennis. I can probably do that. It was actually really bad my very first time playing, but got hooked immediately and kept playing with my dad and the old people, and eventually brought Jade along like a month or two later. And then, yeah, we were on and off playing. Wasn't really planning on taking it like too seriously, doing tournaments, but our competitive side took over a little bit and started doing tournaments. Anything else, Jade?
Yeah, and I'd say we didn't start out pro right away. We definitely started at like 4-5 level, and once we got a few of those under our belts, we're like, let's try out pro and see what happens. So we've been trying to do that ever since.
And okay, you didn't start off pro, obviously. How long? Those are high numbers to start at. How long did you have to stick with it before? Not even you became pro, before you at least thought that there was the opportunity, if you did stick with it, that you could get to where you guys are now.
Sure. So we started in like the spring of 2019.
Spring of
And
20.
I think
Is that, not to bring up bad things, but it's sad that I wrap things around COVID. Was that the start of COVID? Was it spring 2019?
it was spring 2020. So that's where I was going with that. We started March 2019, played like 1 or 2, maybe you played 3 tournaments. And then our very first pro tournament, we went to the Simone tournament in like, where was it? Bonita Springs, Florida. And that was like on the plane ride home. That's when everything shut down.
Wow.
So that was our first experience playing pro tournament and the last for a year and a year and a half, probably. So.
Wow. Okay. So, Johnny, go ahead.
I was just going to say I just moved back to Southwest Florida temporarily, and it has come a long way from where it was a few years, especially pre-pandemic. And I think even now, a lot more players down in the area. So competition is getting fierce.
And that's probably a statement that there's so many pockets of this country now that you can make the statement that over the past few years that there's been this tremendous growth. So Jackie, you get into it, you like it, you bring Jade into it. I'm assuming that you guys start off by playing on the same team most of the time in doubles along your early journey?
It's kind of depended. We like to play together, and then like once we start yelling at each other, then we'd split up for the rest of the day. But yeah, for the most part, we start off playing together.
Well, you kind of went ahead and answered my next question, but that's where I was going with it. I know that there is a little bit of this sibling rivalry, but you also do play together. So genuinely, answer it honestly, if you will. Would you rather win the gold together, or would you rather win the gold with beating the other in the finals match?
I'd say we definitely would rather win together. But, you know, we've played, I guess, mixed doubles is probably the only time we've actually had to play against each other, and that gets really weird sometimes. We just like play so different when we're playing against each other in a tournament. We're super cautious against each other. Like our dinks go 10 feet over the net, and neither one of us will speed it up because she already knows where I'm gonna hit. But yeah,
because you guys know each other better, basically, than I don't even want. Yeah, you guys basically know each other. But I had Ryler and Megan DeHart on, but they're married, and you guys were literally born one right after the other. So I'll say you guys know each other a little better. Do you just notice an instinctive difference from playing with each other, or even anybody else that's playing with another family member, versus when you guys play with any other doubles partners? And if you do, what is that like, and how do you handle that?
For sure, there's definitely pros and cons. Like Jade and I, we move so well together and know each other's shots so well. I know where she's going to be on the court. I know what she can and can't do. But on the flip side of that, everything that we say or every eye roll is super personal. So we get mad at each other pretty quick, but also like can get very supportive of each other. We don't have a filter with each other. We know each other too well. So
yeah, Jackie's like the complete opposite person when she's playing with someone else. She's so nice, so supportive.
Oh, that's you.
And then when she's like with me, she's saying something after every point, and I'm like, just please, I wish I had a mute button right now, but most of the time we're okay.
We grew up playing tennis, so we were singles players in tennis, so we would have to play each other a lot. So this is fun getting to play doubles together, and yeah, do a bunch of tournaments together and be on the same team.
It can be toughest, I find, sharing with the people you know the best, because it's easiest to get frustrated, right? Familiarity breeds contempt sometimes. So you ladies handle it well, though. You had a recent bronze medal. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we got bronze at the PPA Cincinnati Baird Wealth Management Open recently. So
our first PPA of the year, so we were excited to do that and get to play some different people.
Yeah, after a tough first round loss, we kind of had to battle back through the back draw, and it was really cool to get to play on center court and play some different people that we haven't played. And yeah, I'm glad that we ended up doing that one. It was really fun.
I'm looking at so
Tough L there.
Your first match was a loss against Anna and Jesse. Was there anything specifically that you remember from that match going down 8-4 that just sticks out to you now, or was it just a general they were a little better than you?
They were just really on. I mean, they played great the whole tournament and have been playing, great since. They're kind of, probably the hottest team right now. We're kind of known to be a little slow starters sometime, but they just played awesome. All credit to them.
Let me ask you about that, because this is a fact that I honestly got educated on this weekend, that in the PPA, if you lose, the best you can do is bronze. And I didn't know that. And I actually commented to somebody new in the YouTube chat during the PPA saying that it's double elimination, but if you lose, you can still make it to the championship. And everyone's like, no, that's APP. That's not how it works in PPA. You just said you're notoriously slow starters. How it's made up, how these tournaments play out with how they handle the single versus double elimination, does that factor into which tour you guys would choose if there happen to be similar ones on the same weekend?
Maybe a little. It's always nice knowing, like, okay, if I lose, there's always a chance I can make it back. It'll be like a long, tough road, but I can get back to the gold medal match if I, really want to. But we do like to mix up our competition. So we're definitely trying to do a mix of PPAs and APPs. This one, I think there was an APP the same weekend as this one, but this one was like a 2-hour drive from Indianapolis. So we were like, this is a good chance to compete at the PPA, so let's do it. But yeah, not having a chance to get back to gold and taking a first round L was a little hard to bounce back from.
Yeah. What's the sentiment on tour about that? Is there a distinct style that the players like? Do they like the full-on double elimination, or do they like, if you lose, the best you can do is bronze, from what you guys have heard?
I think it's a mix of both.
Really? See, I'm just that. Look, I'm not a professional athlete, but I did play sports growing up, and I like sports. I'm just of the belief that I love the being able to go all the way to the gold. I think there's a different mindset along the way if you know the best you can do is a bronze versus the best you can do is a gold. I said that in the chat this weekend, and people argued the other side, and I do see that other side of it does make winning that much more of a premium. Like, you legit have to run the table, and there is, if that's what they're going for, there is some people that like that style. Me, I just like, if you're letting them go all the way to the bronze, just let it go all the way. I love the stories. Like, this one would have been a perfect story for me. If you guys lost your very first match and then went all the way to the finals and potentially took on the same people and beat them twice, to build storylines, to build stuff around, and that's what sports is. For me, that's really super cool. I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't find it as interesting, but if you lose in your first, second, or third match, and I know that the best you can do is bronze, they're definitely, maybe showing the different matches that have the ones that potentially go to the golds. But to hear you say it's mixed, I'm happy to hear that. I guess that's why there's a place for both, and they're sticking with it.
Yeah, I think some people see the PPA style as more of like a true bracket. But then again, I feel like you see more withdrawals once you get to the back draw of the PPA because like the money does drop a lot. And then, fighting all that way back just to get to the bronze and not win a ton of money is another whole mindset you have to shift to. So
That was my other argument that I actually stole from someone else that I was having a discussion with. That yeah, the withdrawals when you know that the most you can do is bronze, and with some of the way the money goes, it creates a distinct higher likelihood that people are going to withdraw just because the benefit there isn't as great. But at the end of the day, you lost your first match, ran the table through the rest, beat Grechkina and Terashenko, beat Smith and Kovalova, beat Sheehan and Dazan Jones. Is there any match that stuck out to? Was this is Megan and Elise. This one confused me. Any of these matches stick out to you like along your ride that something crazy happened, or any of them you felt like there was no chance before in the middle that you guys were going to sneak out a W, but you guys found a way? What does that look?
Well, the obvious one has to be the Lucy Callie matchup, which we've lost to them before. We played them at the U.S. Open, I think. And did okay. Like, wasn't a shutout, but it wasn't 3 sets.
It wasn't like, it's not like the score that was surprising. It was just like how I don't think Jackie's ever played that good before, and I don't think I've ever played that well before. And so it was like, whoa, I'm not like popping it up right now. That's like really weird.
By like 12-2, I was like, we cannot possibly lose this match, right? Like, we have to like tank really hard.
I thought we were gonna blow it, but
there's always a chance we could blow it. Blown leads before, so I was like,
well,
we can't blow this, right?
And I feel like you kind of see that with so Urban and Bright, right? So the week before, they got that major win over the Waters, and I feel like that really propelled them mentally. So how do you feel like just going into your next tournament, going into some of the MLP play coming up? I mean, that is a huge scalp, beating those two. How do you feel mentally now going into the back end of the year from the Pro Tour side?
I think it gave us a lot of confidence, going on that run at the end and ending up winning bronze and playing so well towards the end. Definitely gives us a lot of confidence, because before that Lucy Callie match, we weren't sure how it was going to go. We were like, let's just try and make it respectable because they're really, really good players. As long as we make it respectable, I'd be happy with that. And to come out on top was really awesome and just gave us a confidence boost that, these people that we watch all the time don't get to play a lot and, think that maybe we don't have a shot because they got so much more experience and high level play in. It just gives us in our heads now, I think we know we have a shot. We can actually compete.
Jackie, you obviously agree on that?
Yeah, for sure. Like she said, we don't get to play. We're part-time pickleballers, so we don't get to play a lot of tournaments anyway, especially the number 1 team in the world, number 1 seed at the PPA. So it was great to even get to play them, let alone win and, be able to compete with them.
Now, I want to come back to that part-time that you mentioned, because both of you right now are working at the NCAA. So there's some work-life balance there. But just to rewind real quick, right? I know, like you mentioned, just one of the hottest teams right now, Anna Bright, Jesse Irvin. Just been a lot of talk on the forums and on Twitter about those two, and certainly a lot of momentum that they had. Tough loss that could have gone either way against the Waters this week. But you played them first round. Jackie, you're a teammate of Anna's. How much do you think that played into just her awareness of what you guys might do? Do you feel like there was any just insight that she had going into that game? Give us a little bit of a breakdown on that, and then we'll move on to some other stuff here.
Yeah, for sure. I think before MLP, before I was put on her team, we had only played each other like maybe once in mixed, maybe once in women's. So we were sort of familiar with each other, not really. Hadn't seen a ton of each other. After MLP, we obviously spent a lot of time playing together, getting to know each other, knowing each other's games. So that definitely did benefit and hurt both of us, probably, with the community there. She knows my game, I know hers. And we would do some practice games with Jade and her partner as well. So, and we're pretty similar players. So she's just the lefty version of me.
No, that's such an interesting question, Johnny, because I've actually asked some pros that in the past when we were dealing with some of the tournaments, not just the MLP, but we know some of the other tours have had those switching partners throughout the day, one-off tournaments, and I love those as the one-off style, obviously. And I asked that question, like, are you using it more to actually win with that partner, or do you find yourself sitting there taking notes if you know that that's not someone that you're not normally playing with, but you're normally playing against? And a lot of pros said, obviously, look, they were there to win and they were focusing the whole time on winning each and every point. But the information that you do get from those one-off tournaments of playing with a bunch of different people is it such a different perspective that you would never be able to get from either one, watching film on them, or two, just playing across the net with them. Because as we all know, obviously me and Johnny a little less than you guys, obviously, you really got to play with someone to learn all there is to know about their game.
Yeah, playing with them or against them, you really get to, you can watch it on YouTube or whatever, but you don't really get to see the true pace of the ball, the true spin. Watching is definitely something that we do and find helpful since we don't get to play a super amount of tournaments. But playing a bunch of different, like MLP was so awesome, getting different matchups, playing all these people, getting to know their games, playing against those different kinds of styles was super fun and very helpful moving forward.
More MLP. Everybody wants more MLP. That's what all the pros say, all the fans say. Yeah, it's like, look, it's not even saying anything about anything else except positive about the MLP, just like that style. And we'll break it down even deeper, and I'll bring up the MLP website and we'll go through your teams and some of the other ones, and we can have some fun with that. But yeah, I'm just so excited. Brooks was on last week and he couldn't drop any alpha, obviously, but he said stay tuned he was working on the schedule. And it was very fair to say that obviously there's going to be a lot more MLP next year than we got this year. And that team switcheroo setting is just such a thing that makes pickleball that we all love and want more. Before we do a deep dive into that stuff, though, and go hardcore into the pickleball and the pro side, you did mention the part-time aspect of it, and I just wanted to allow you guys to kind of go further into that, because another thing that I find so interesting about this scene is how different people are bought into it, and I don't mean that in like a negative word. I mean, some people are just full-time, and some people are in school, some people have work. Johnny already said, like, what you guys have jobs, so there is that other professional side other than professional pickleball. But what's the mindset in terms of where pickleball fits? When I had Mario on, he said, if he had to choose one between business school and pickleball, he would honestly choose pickleball. I mean, honestly choose business school. And what's great about this sport is he went out the next weekend and won the gold. So it shows you, like, truly anyone could win. But, like, where is your mindset as to where this game fits?
Yeah, I think right now we both have a good amount of flexibility with our jobs, where I think we had played the amount of tournaments that we wanted to play. I think next year we want to try and play more for sure, just, to keep up with everybody. And, that we're in that phase right now where everyone's asking, like, are you going to go full time, or what are you going to do? And we don't, I actually really like my job. I don't want to give it up yet. And I think you really like your job too. And, like, I love people I work with. I like having that kind of that stability. I guess maybe I'm just not like a risk taker. I don't know, but I want to try and balance both for as long as I can. But I know that point is coming where I'll probably have to choose or kind of make up my mind of how serious I want to take pickleball and how much time I can give for that.
And is there any specific benchmarks that would trigger that conversation between you guys? Like, oh my God, we got to consider doing this full time? Or is it going to be more of a feel thing in terms of where this beast continues to grow?
Yeah, I think we're just kind of waiting to see what happens in the next year or so. Like I know you mentioned, like more MLP events. I want to see like how many there's going to be, how much time will that take, and kind of, I know APP just released their tour schedule. PPA is probably going to do the same soon, so we'll have to see if we can keep doing what we're doing or if we're going to have to guess. I guess to answer your question, we're probably just feeling it out right now.
Yeah.
That's fair.
We get a good amount of flexibility. There's certain times of the year where I just can't do anything. Like the spring is super busy for me. Another part of it is money. Like I can't travel every single weekend. Paddle Tech, thanks, helps a ton, but still costly at the end of the day, unless you win.
I was going to say it definitely helps to win 100K purses with a team of 4. I'm sure that's a little boost. Yeah. Did you help Jade any out after that win? Any presents, or just because obviously she's given you a lot of good quality practice time and doubles time to get you there? Were there any gifts involved after that purse?
I feel like I've been paying I paid for lunch today. I got I've always done.
Oh, you're the one complaining about you won the 25K. No, she's
like Venmoing her $5.
No, she forgets her purse every time we go into a restaurant.
I do that. I'm good at that. I'm really good at that.
The truth comes out. I was just going to ask real quick. Obviously, I think with the jobs too, you just bring up a really good point. So, Jackie, you're an assistant coordinator of the championships and alliances. Is that correct? And I believe Jade, eligibility department coordinator. So, out of the two of you, who works the hardest?
Me. Definitely me. I've been there longer. I've been there for like 3 years. I think Jackie's only been there, a year?
Yeah, a year today, actually. I started a year ago today.
Oh, wow.
Congrats. Happy Annie.
Congratulations.
I didn't realize that until I just looked at the date on the bottom of the screen.
Do you guys have any insight because of who you work for? This is something that I know me and Johnny are both very interested in. Any insight in the NCAA in college getting involved in the pickleball scene? You guys obviously played tennis, and that's how you kind of got into it. My sneaky suspicion, and you guys can touch on this also, is as we get into the future, and I think very soon you'll be doing this full time because it's going to grow at that pace. To get into it, people are going to have to start early just because the competition is going to grow. Is there any murmurs either from your involvement with the NCAA or just involvement in the professional game about the college prospects of pickleball?
Yeah, I know there's some schools that have some clubs and trying to get more programs started. There's a certain amount of schools that would have to sponsor it as like a real sport for it to like have a championship or be, considered to like actually be labeled a sport. My goal is to get it as like an emerging sport. So hopefully like one day enough schools will sponsor it. Because that's the goal, right? How do we expect like younger kids to want to pick up and play this sport if there's like no scholarships or something? In the end, why wouldn't they just go play tennis where they can get something in the future paid for, your education paid for? So hopefully that's coming soon. I don't think it's close right now. It's not like, oh my God, next year pickleball is going to be a sport. There's a lot of things that go into it, but at the rate it's growing, it'll get there one day.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. Definitely college sport, definitely Olympic sport are two things that, again, like you said, not next year or maybe the year after, but talking 5 to 10 year timelines when we're talking about something that basically just began very recently isn't too long. And I also don't think is that crazy of a timeline to forecast that things like that would occur with the growth. So I'm totally with that. And these people gotta see, they gotta just walk around their campus and see that all these kids are just playing the game, because every single person is playing it. Again, it'll come down to where's the money, can they get, they're not gonna be willing to give out scholarships if there isn't money coming back into it. So we all know how that works. So I think that's why I always think the pro game is so important. And as much as the amateur side is that foundation, the side we can never lose, the pro tour is that proof of concept that it's potentially monetizable or a product that people love and people even want to watch it once it works at that scale. And that's where it needs to start, with like the best of the best. Because if we want to show this off, it has to be showed off by doing the best of the best. Once that starts off, we can trickle down more into the amateur game, which includes the college athletic sides of it, which includes people wanting to, put money into it if they want to see money on the outside. Even with young kids getting coaches, I know a lot of people in my town. Some of my friends even have younger siblings or younger relatives. They're getting pickleball lessons at our town court. So now that, and things like that are happening because at the dinner table, they saw it on the tennis channel. So that belief and that moment for parents to kind of see, hey, this is for real. This isn't something that my kids are just playing at camp or playing with a makeshift net that they put up. The tennis channel is showing professionals, where we're seeing it sponsored by Lexus or sponsored by all these great companies and the prize purses are in the tens, sometimes hundreds of thousands. That once that's the case and once that takes off, the college and the amateur and the Olympic side will definitely take off as well.
Yeah, for sure. We were just playing with Althoff on Sunday, and we just talked about
really.
We play with each other a lot. We're gonna go down to his house next weekend for
awesome.
Shout out Althoff. But yeah, we were just talking about how it was on the tennis channel, and that was so awesome for people, to see that and take it seriously. The PPA had an awesome venue in Cincinnati. That I think that did a really good job of showcasing the sport and how professional and it can be taken seriously.
I think it's also interesting though that there's like such young players that are already professional. Like you've got like the Annalise, the Georgias.
Exactly. Yeah.
I want to bring up on my phone. I storied it today. Vulcan sponsored their first junior ever today. Axel Morgan. I'm seeing these junior players are getting and that's just that's exactly what we're saying, right? Like once these kids get sponsored, then these colleges will start seeing that, there's money in it from that sense. It's awesome. It's just awesome to be a fan of it from where me and Johnny sit. You guys are doing it part-time. You got into it through the love of the game. Obviously now good enough to be on like the professional side. What is it like on the enjoyment scale for you guys? Like what gets you like most excited? Is it truly when you're on the court playing? Is it when you see this news of potential MLP expansion? Like what about the game right now and how you guys fit into it actually excites you the most at this moment?
Well, that's a good question. You can go first. I mean, I think we're in it because we love playing it and we see the potential of where it can go. I don't have a business mindset, but I know from other people saying it, like it's going to explode, and we're lucky to be a part of the MLP and playing both ABP and PPA and just kind of having the, I guess, freedom right now to kind of be in it as much as we want or as little as we want, but we definitely want to be in it as much as we want because it's just exciting. Who knows what could happen, and I think big things are going to happen next year, and then bigger things are even going to happen in the years to come. So hopefully we can stay a little bit relevant so that we can be a part of it.
I think it's getting a bit more mainstream exposure with Drew Brees becoming an owner of MLP, Kevin Durant playing the other day. It's just getting more exposure to different people that you probably normally wouldn't watch those type of things.
And now you bring up a good point. Obviously, a lot of big things are happening. we're seeing, as fans, just on the fan side, they continue to lob bombs in the Tour Wars. PPA makes a huge announcement this past week with MGM. They're going to be doing a team event. What are your ladies' thoughts on how PPA is coming out swinging here in Las Vegas?
I mean, I guess with MLP and the prize money being so high, they have to come up with something, right, to make their players happy. I don't know. I don't have too much insight on it. It'll probably be a really cool event, really cool venue, really good players. I wonder if it'll be the exact same setup or not. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that like they put it on the same weekends or like really.
There you go, Jade.
I mean, it's funny. I'm like, I wish I could watch that, but I'm like playing in this too. I hope people watch me too. So
yeah, it's. I don't even know how to describe it, and where me and Johnny sit is definitely so different than where you guys sit. Because where me and Johnny sit truly is just fans who are like diehard fans of this sport. The Tour Wars are good for us for literally what Jade said. I'm not scared to say it's going to become an arms race where, one tour is going to see the prize money. And like you guys, alluded to a little bit with the travel and having to, put up money to go places. And you mentioned Paddle Tech, and we'll get to them before we sign off, and we'll cover them and bring them up on the screen. The prize money does go a lot into the pros deciding where they're going to go. That if each of these tours have to keep going higher and higher and doing things to lure in the best of the best pros over the other, for fans like me and Johnny, it's only going to elevate, the heights that each of the tours and the lengths that each of the tours are willing to go to put out the product as they compete. So that's where we sit. I don't want to describe, where you guys sit, and you don't have to. I'm not asking you to even like define the tours by name and give any allegiance. Right after this, we're gonna go to your MLP teams and cover them, so it's no secret, what you're kind of involved with. But talk about yourselves, or even just, the general sentiment on tour about how the pros themselves are living with this arms race tour war that, like Johnny said, is really picking up now.
I think, it's interesting. We kind of consider ourselves a little bit outsiders too. Like we play on the pro tour, but I don't know like the ins and out like other people do. Like I don't.
We're free agents. We're not affiliated with the other.
Contracts. Whoever's listening, get the contracts ready.
But yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the year, I know PPA players probably never saw this one coming. Maybe they did. I don't know. Maybe they didn't. But maybe it's good for the tours to be like kind of elevating each other, one-upping each other. It's probably good for the overall production, which I do think needs to get a little bit better in pickleball. So,
yeah, I think people, there's like both sides saying like having competing tours is helpful because they'll both have to like step up their game, and other people say it's hurting it because it's making players choose and there's too many events, and some events will be stacked and some events won't have enough players. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. I guess I'm still an outsider, just eating my popcorn, like sitting back and see what happens.
Hopefully we can.
That's a great point, Jade. That's a great point, because as I sit here and say from people like me and Johnny, and I guess, I mean, you guys are way too good to be saying you're outsiders. Like, you guys are way insiders in the deep pro players, so give yourselves more credit. But the one downside for me and Johnny, like Jay just alluded to, is if, let's just say in the future weekends there's like 3 tours going on, there is only so many players that sometimes you even see it when there's only, 2 going on in the same weekend. Some of them, the first few rounds, or, some people going up against, things that quick matches, people that shouldn't maybe even be up against each other because, they're spread so thin a little bit. But I still think because of what these 3 tours are doing right now, it's going to be a very, very positive in the long run. And I'm not going to make any forecasts or any predictions on how it's going to end, but I do think it's going to end, good for pickleball. That may not be, good for APP. That may not be good for MLP. That may not be good for PPA, but it will be good for pickleball. So that's why, I'm very interested in it and think it's a good thing that it's occurring right now. We keep bringing up, the MLP, and you guys will both be in Columbus, right?
Yes, we will.
Okay, so let me start off with Jade first. Jade, talk to me and Johnny, everyone watching now, and everyone who's going to tune in, and we will clip this and throw this up on Instagram. So please tell me why ATX is going to go into Columbus and win the whole thing.
Come on, Jade.
I think, for one, my sister winning it last time just fuels the fire in us, and me especially. So I'm definitely gonna get on my team. Like, we cannot end this year, without making it to the finals. I think we're all more determined than ever since it's the last event of the year. We really want to make the most of it, and I think we can do it. Now that we got Newport under our belt, and it was a good experience for us, learning experience, and I think we're gonna come back stronger in Columbus.
Johnny, as the man that I call the most educated man in the space of professional pickleball, you look at this team and you know the other teams in the MLP. Can you give me a little breakdown of what to watch with this team and how you think they're going to do in Columbus?
Listen, I think obviously the more that teams play together, the better they will get. I think there's been podcasts recently too touching on this point that, in most sports, you're practicing together all the time. You're playing together. I think that's, again, a unique thing for you, Jade and Jackie, just known each other so well, playing together over the years. You have a little bit of a head start and advantage over, I think, most teams. But I do think that, this group, the more you guys are playing together, working together, obviously, just studs across this team. Dylan's been playing longer than I even knew the sport existed.
Yeah, Dylan's on fire.
Still only 20 years old. So, I mean, he had a good run too this week. So I just think you guys all around, it's really anyone's game. I think group play is going to be a lot of fun. I saw Brooks had started tweeting about there's going to be a group play draw.
Yeah, that was sick.
So, man, I give anyone a puncher's chance, and I think I give this team definitely a bit more than that. So,
yeah, a bunch of people that have been playing well recently. Have you gotten a chance to meet the owners? Have you met Brene Brown?
Yeah, so we do have the best owners. That gives us another advantage. Brene did come to the first one in Austin, and we've got Charles Kiley and Steve Alley that are probably the loudest people there in the stands supporting
100%.
us. So they give us
they
that
cheer
extra
the hardest.
Yeah.
And when I came, they were cheering for me, and it was great because they're so awesome. Their energy is awesome.
That's great to see that, it's not just people. And that's the main thing with the MLP. And you heard it when we talked to Brooks. And it was a big thing that Steve was saying when he was finding people to get owners. Like, he wasn't willing to just find people that were willing to give money. It has to be people that also love it. Because there's enough people out there that are obviously willing. The numbers are out there. They're staggering. There's probably no better investment than investing in something like this right now. But to get people that love the sport and to hear that, these famous, unbelievable owners are going to the games and cheering you guys on is fantastic. We heard why ATX is going to win. Jackie, you guys obviously have a target on your back. It's not really too hard to sell, right, as to why you guys are going to win. It's already been done. But talk to us a little bit about your mindset. Is the conversation around this event different because you guys have won in Newport?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different. They went from, I was traded to this team after the first event. So and they were, I think, 12 out of 12 coming out of the first event. And then going from there to...
What are you trying to say, Jackie?
Yeah, Jackie, what?
I mean, do I have to say it?
Numbers don't lie, right? Numbers don't lie.
You didn't even play your mixed doubles match,
Exact-
so it
'cause-
was not because
No.
Oh, sisters.
Stop talking. You've had your chance. Call me when you get out of the quarters, all right?
Proceed.
Yeah, I mean, we started out. I mean, our first match of Newport was going into a dream breaker, so that one was really tight. And then every match after that got more comfortable with each other. Me and Anna were really locked in with each other. Didn't lose a match. The boys got it together. James really, stepped up. DJ stepped up big time. He was the alpha male that we needed, and hopefully we just carry that momentum into Columbus.
I got an X's and O's
Yeah.
question real quick. Seeing Anna Bright, Jesse Irvin play a little bit off the kitchen line the last couple of tournaments and finding mixed success with it, I saw a lot of discussions going on about how, hey, they're leaving too much room. Good teams are going to, exploit that with the short game, the small game. Do you feel like, Jackie, you and Anna might employ something similar? Why or why not?
What we did, I think, the first time worked because MLP obviously is rally scoring. So I feel like we have talked with some pros about it. We all feel like we take a little bit less risk. Like we tend to drop the ball more instead of drive because normally you're just, giving the ball to the next person to serve on your team. In MLP, it's a point. And I think that is a benefit for players like me and Anna who are known to be a little bit more solid. And
I love this.
and anyway, it's a benefit. Thanks, Jade.
These ATX Rancher games are getting spicy.
I'm their biggest fan. When I swear, I get more nervous watching ATX. I'm on the bench cheering, and she's quiet of us two, in case you haven't noticed. And she's just like, whenever we play.
Well, you're definitely going in as the favorites, in my opinion. BLQK is going to still be there, I think, also getting a healthy Paris back. She's been playing well the last couple weeks as well, so a lot of buzz there. But, I mean, let's get we got to message Brooks and see if we can get a little collusion on the group play draw. Just get a little ATX Rangers to.
We did the first time, and they beat us the first. Yep. Well, when I was still on the Jackrabbits. So yeah.
How about tell me about that? Obviously, you went through that trade in July. So just what's that dynamic like? There hasn't been too many people traded yet in MLP. It's only happened a few times. So what was that feeling like? What went through your head afterwards, and how has that been having former teammates now playing elsewhere and whatnot, and having to start over with the Rangers?
I was kind of nervous, I guess, at first. I didn't know if it was going to happen. I think we had a kind of bad first event too, so I knew our team was going to do something. I didn't know what. But I was happy to be traded to the Ranchers. Great friends with Anna now, always been great friends with DJ. James is awesome. So our team got along great. No issues there with team chemistry. So I was lucky to be traded to that team.
I dig it, and you bring up a great point too. I really feel like team chemistry, like you see it a lot with the recent drops leading into the last MLP event. If you don't have the team chemistry, it's gonna be tough sledding. So even if you have a great player or two, you might have to mix it up. So at first I was a little bit concerned. I'm like, man, this might malign players a little bit. You might get a little frustrated with, maybe the team owners, the format, what have you. But, I think you bring up a great point. Something that we won't see as much on our end from the fan side is that team chemistry and how important it is to that game in MLP.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think it's going to be a totally different beast next year. And we're all basically waiting on pins and needles for Brooks to release that schedule. The three of you literally just went round and round all saying like how important the chemistry was, and it makes complete sense. And that's what I love about this team side of it. And right now you're going so many events in between than going back to that team with a lot of these combinations that aren't playing normally on tour. Let's just say, and I gave Brooks this to his face, so I'll say it out loud. If we went, 10 months, March to November, with like the last week of every month being like an MLP event, you would start seeing a lot more chemistry. If every, fourth week, those people were playing together, getting used to the rotations, getting used to, how each other play, that by the time group play was over and it got to these playoffs, you would see the quality of play with their new teammates that you would be used to seeing with people with their normal partners. And once MLP gets that, then it's really the sky's the limit. Once you get the quality of play, which I'm not saying it's any lower, but it's just common, it's human nature that you play more together, you're going to get better. Like once they capture that with that team switcheroo type setting, it's going to be a crazy year for MLP next year. And that's why a lot of people are excited for Columbus. And if any news, breaks before Columbus, I know Brooks didn't give a date and no one from the tour has given a date, but they have said around Columbus, things should begin to get dropped. So I think the four of us are all sitting here pretty excited for that. I don't want to go though without discussing, and you guys mentioned it, Paddle Tech, and if there's any other sponsors, we'll go through them also. But I brought them up. We know in this game, which is a growing game, how hard it is, for people to have to pay to go to all these tournaments where it's an eat where you kill mentality if you don't have a contract. So if you don't place or you don't place in the money, you're spending money to then get nothing in return, taking off work to do it. You need these sponsors. Every single person that's come up here has talked about the fact that they legitimately aren't thanking their sponsors just to thank them. Like they would not have been at that tournament without the sponsors paying for their travel and their lodging. So it's true thanks. So you mentioned Paddle Tech. It's obviously a sponsor of yours. Talk us a little bit through how that relationship started and what's the importance of that relationship to this pro game that, has now led to you guys leaving the PPA event with a bronze recently.
For sure. I guess they obviously sponsor a lot of the top names in the game. I think the former VP for Paddle Tech happened to live in Indianapolis, so once we started playing more, we got acquainted with him. Teamed up with them, and they've been helpful along the way. I've always used a Paddle Tech paddle ever since I first started playing. Like that was my first paddle, so obviously I'm comfortable with it. And they've been very helpful, like their paddles a lot. And then for Cincinnati specifically, the title sponsor, Baird, did help us out with that tournament as well. So we're very grateful to them. Hope to continue a relationship with them.
Yeah, I was just going to say to that point too, I heard Cal Yates, fellow Southwest Florida native. He actually grew up just over the bridge from me in Southwest Florida. But he mentioned a little while back, I heard some audio from him that, he's been using Paddle Tech forever. And for him, when you see all these advancements come out, obviously there's going to be a lot of change in the equipment and paddles over time. But, he's able to do everything he wants to do just with technique. So, to me, that goes a long way. And I think that's a great company. If he can stay with them for as long as he has, it just vouches for them quite a bit.
Well, hey, Shay in the chat is rooting for ATX. Sorry, Jackie.
How could you, Hey
okay,
Shay? After all we've been through, Hey Shay.
Yeah. Hey Shay was so excited when I told that you guys were coming on. We were in Discord today, talking back and forth. It was funny. Always here in the chat though, so thank you, Hey Shay, for showing up. Hey Shay was on Twitter, won, I think it was a silver, potentially a gold. Congratulations, though. Another thing I love about this sport, pros, amateurs, anyone from a 1.5 to a pro level, a gold's a gold, a silver's a silver. So, okay, hey, Shay, that makes sense. You're rooting homegrown. Yeah, that's something I talked to Brooks about. Once they put places and like on like the team names, when it's like the New York Ranchers or like the Wisconsin ATX or stuff like that, I think more and more people will easily find reasons to adopt their teams. Like if any team became the New York City whatever, I would immediately just, start probably having an inclination to root for them. I know he said that may not come in June, but maybe.
So, do you get a lot of ranchers in New York?
No, not too many. It'd have to be the New York City skyscrapers, and maybe it could be one of the expansion teams, which I know we're all excited to hear about who the 4 owners of those are, because we've heard, think about who the owners are now, and like the top owners in the league now are like setting the floor of who the new owners are. So just in terms of being fans of the MLP, and like you said, people buying in to who these owners are and liking the owners or liking what they get involved with, only going to be great for the exponential growth of pickleball. But all right, let's go through it, Johnny. We covered how they got into pickleball. We covered, their professional side of things. We covered the MLP and their teams. We covered Paddle Tech. Anything else before we let them go on our list of things?
Well, I would say this. So, Jade, you're 49 seconds Jackie Senior, correct? Did I do my homework right? All right,
So they say.
Yep. All right. So Porto asked that. I just wanted to make sure we answered that question, that we know Jade is the oldest. So I'll ask Jade first. What are you looking forward to most in the next year? What events, do you guys have circled even on the APP calendar that you're like, hey, we're prioritizing this?
Whew. Yeah, I think definitely excited for MLP announcements. I think that is super fun. Love playing that. We've just started talking today about what APP events we want to play next year. So still getting through those, but I think we want to try and go to places we haven't been before and play there, because we don't get out much. But definitely still want to hit up like the Midwest, hopefully like the Cincinnati and PPA and stuff, like come back to the Midwest. And yeah, we're not sure yet, but we're hoping that we can get to bigger tournaments and play more tournaments.
No, that's exciting. A lot of the pros have told stories of them using, the settings of these tours as a way to plan vacations around, the tours happening, going a few days before or staying a few days after with their family, and just having a reason to go to places where you probably wouldn't plan like a weekend away, but if you have to be there for something else, a really cool place to then take advantage of, to go hang out and get to experience where they wouldn't have if it wasn't for being a professional pickleball player, which I think right now is the coolest job in the world by far. And I'm still trying every freaking day to get there, but probably never, but we will see. But Jackie, Jade, as we come to the turn of the hour, I appreciate you guys.
Wait, we gotta give Jackie her opportunity, just because she's younger. She's gotta answer.
Do you have anything? How about this? Jade said what you guys are looking forward to most, in a little bit in the future. What's next for you two? Is there anything, Jackie, for you guys before Columbus?
No, not for me.
Okay.
Columbus I'll try and squeeze maybe one more in after Columbus before the end of the year. But yeah, this is where my work gets pretty busy, since I do championships and the soccer season starts really going. That's my fall championship. So
yeah, no, that's so it's really all in on this Columbus event. Jade is going to try and take the crown from Jackie. The Ranchers are the defending champions. ATX, though, looking through that team, looks like a great competition. We can find you guys on Instagram. We've been tagging them in all of the stuff. Go look on our Instagram. It'll lead you to their Instagram. They're not that active on Twitter, so you won't find them there.
If you're a Tom Brady fan, go ahead and follow me.
Let's go. Follow Jackie. Follow Jade.
We need more Twitter from both of you. That's one thing we request.
Get on those, and we'll stay in touch, and we'll super excited to get the chance to watch you guys in Columbus. But yeah, you heard them. Follow Jackie, follow Jade. We'll be sharing clips from this throughout the week where we'll be tagging them, so you'll easily be able to find them. But thank you to the Kawamoto sisters, Jackie and Jade. Good luck in Columbus, and I'm sure we'll talk before them. But thank you for your time, and have a great night.
Oh, thanks, you guys. This was super fun. Great talking to you guys.
DJ Regen Huddle's up next. Stay tuned. Jigga's going to take over.